3 weeks after the battle, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session. Every major species sent representatives. The chamber was massive, designed to hold thousands of delegates from hundreds of worlds. Every seat was filled. Ambassador Taman stood at the human delegation's position, watching as species that had ignored humanity's plea for help now argued about what the victory meant. Some were impressed. Others were frightened. All of them were forced to reassess their understanding of warfare and of humanity itself. The Vareth sent a delegation too. Commander Vorth himself attended, though he arrived without military escort or symbols of rank. He walked into the chamber wearing simple diplomatic robes. When he passed the human delegation, he nodded to Taman, a gesture of respect that shocked every observer. This session will address the recent conflict between humanity and the Varath Empire, the Assembly chairman announced. A conflict that ended with the Varath's first military defeat in 3,000 years. Murmurs filled the chamber. The words still seemed impossible. The Varath had never lost, until they faced humanity. "We must understand what happened," a delegate from the Kessian Alliance said. The Varath fleet was 3 times larger, their technology superior, yet they were defeated by tactics we do not understand, tactics that appear to violate accepted rules of warfare. "What rules?" Taman asked, speaking from his position. "The Varath gave us an ultimatum: surrender or be destroyed. They did not offer negotiations. They did not respect our sovereignty. They threatened to erase our culture. When humanity refused to surrender, we used every advantage we could find." "Is that wrong?" "You used deception," another delegate argued. "You disrupted communications. You hid your true strength. You manipulated your enemy's expectations. These are not honorable tactics." "Honor does not matter when your entire species faces extinction," Taman replied. "We survived by thinking differently, by refusing to fight the battle our enemy expected. If that makes us dishonorable in your eyes, so be it. We would rather be alive and dishonorable than dead and praised." Commander Vorth stood. The chamber fell silent. When a Varath commander spoke, everyone listened. "The human delegate is correct," Vorth said. His voice was measured, controlled. "We gave them no choice. We demanded complete surrender. We threatened their existence. They responded by defeating us utterly, not through strength, through intelligence, through understanding us better than we understood ourselves." He paused, looking directly at Taman. "I came here to make a formal statement on behalf of the Varath Empire. We acknowledge our defeat. We withdraw all demands on human territory and sovereignty, and we propose something unprecedented, a treaty of mutual respect and non-aggression. We wish to learn from humanity, to understand how they think, how they see warfare, because they have shown us something we did not believe possible." The chamber erupted in conversation. A Varath commander proposing to learn from another species. "Unthinkable. There is more," Vorth continued. "I have been authorized by Varath High Command to make a personal request. I wish to study with Colonel Deho, the officer responsible for our defeat. I wish to understand his methods, his thinking. In Varath culture, learning from a superior warrior is the highest form of respect." Taman looked at Vorth carefully. This was genuine. The proud warrior wanted to learn from the human who defeated him. It was both humbling and dangerous. Humanity had revealed how they thought, how they fought. Now their strongest potential enemy wanted to understand those methods completely. "I cannot answer for Colonel Deho," Taman said. "That decision is his alone." On Earth, Deho watched the assembly session from his small apartment in Geneva. He had remained there since the battle, analyzing reports, attending debriefings, answering questions from military leadership. But he had refused any public appearances or celebrations. General Park visited him that evening. He found Deho standing by the window looking out at the city. "The Assembly is offering you every honor imaginable," Park said. "Multiple species want to hire you as military advisor. Earth's government wants to promote you to Supreme Commander. You could have anything you want." "I want to go back to New Spring," Deho said quietly. "Back to my farm. Back to peace. You know that's not possible anymore. The galaxy knows who you are now, what you're capable of. Commander Vorth wants to study with you personally." Deho turned to look at Park. "The Varath commander wants to learn how to defeat his enemies by thinking like humans. Do you understand how dangerous that is? I revealed our methods, our way of thinking. If the Verath learn to combine their strength with human strategic thinking, they become unstoppable. Then teach them something else, Park suggested. Teach them that warfare should be avoided. That intelligence can be used for peace instead of conquest. Deho considered this. For a long moment he was silent. Then he nodded slowly. Tell Commander Vorth I will accept his request. But not as student and teacher. As equals attempting to understand each other. And not in a military base or command center. In New Spring. On my farm. Your farm? Park looked confused. Yes. Before I teach him about warfare, he needs to understand what we were fighting to protect. He needs to see what matters beyond conquest and victory. 3 months later, a Verath transport landed near Deho's farm on New Spring. Commander Vorth emerged wearing simple civilian clothes. No weapons, no armor, no symbols of military rank. Behind him came 2 assistants carrying supplies. Deho met them at the edge of his rice fields. He handed Vorth a farming tool. Before we discuss warfare, Deho said, you will help me harvest this field. Vorth looked at the tool, then at the fields stretching before them. I am a military commander, not a farmer. I know, Deho said. That's the problem. You see the galaxy in terms of territory to conquer, resources to control, enemies to defeat. But you don't understand what you're actually fighting for. Help me harvest this rice. Then we can talk about warfare. For the next week, Vorth worked in the fields alongside Deho. The proud Verath warrior learned to plant seeds, maintain irrigation, harvest crops. He met the other farmers in the colony. Families, children, people living simple, peaceful lives. This is what you fought for, Vorth said one evening, as they sat watching the sunset over the fields. Not glory, not conquest, not even survival. You fought for this peace, for the right to live simply. Yes, Deho said. The Verath wanted to take our colonies, control our government, erase our culture. But what they were really trying to take was this: the right to decide our own future, to live according to our own values. Vorth was quiet for a long time. We have conquered many species, brought them into the Verath Empire. We always believed we were making them stronger, giving them purpose, but we were actually taking this away from them. Yes, Deho said simply. How do you live with what you did? Vorth asked suddenly. You killed thousands of Verath warriors, destroyed hundreds of ships. Do you feel guilt? Deho stared at the fields. Every day, I think about the 2,000 humans who died in that battle. I think about the Verath crews on ships that were destroyed. Every number in a casualty report was a person, someone with family, dreams, a future that ended because of decisions I made. Then why did you do it? Because the alternative was worse. If we had surrendered, billions of humans would have lost their future, their freedom, their identity. 2,000 lives weighed against billions. The math is simple, but that does not make it easier. Over the following months, Deho and Vorth discussed warfare, strategy, and philosophy. But they spent equal time working the farm, talking about peace and understanding each other's cultures. The key to victory, Deho explained one day, is understanding your enemy completely. Not just their tactics or technology, but what they value, what they fear, what makes them who they are. Once you understand that, you can predict them, you can prepare for them, you can defeat them. But that same understanding could be used to prevent warfare entirely, Vorth observed. If both sides understand each other completely, if both sides see each other as people rather than enemies, war becomes harder to justify. Exactly, Deho said. That's what I'm teaching you. Not how to win wars, how to make wars unnecessary. News of Deho's teaching spread across the galaxy. Other species sent military officers to study with him. Not to learn tactics, to learn thinking, to understand how humanity approached problems differently. Deho established a small academy on New Spring. He called it the Institute for Strategic Understanding. Students came from dozens of species. They learned warfare, but they also learned farming, philosophy, culture. The goal was not to create better warriors. It was to create better thinkers. Every war is won or lost before the first shot is fired, Deho told his students. It is won in the preparation, in understanding your enemy, in knowing what you are truly fighting for. The Verath gave humanity a reason to fight. We responded by understanding them better than they understood themselves. That understanding was our greatest weapon. But that same understanding can also be our greatest tool for peace. 5 years after the battle, the Verith and humanity signed a comprehensive treaty, not just non-aggression, full alliance, cultural exchange, joint research projects. The species that almost destroyed humanity became one of humanity's strongest partners. 5 days passed and the sensor readings didn't stop. In fact, they got stronger. The massive objects approaching from outside the galaxy were definitely real, and they were getting closer. Hana hadn't slept properly in days. She'd been buried in the council archives, reading everything she could find about the elders. Most of it seemed like fairy tales, stories told to children. But the more she read, the more patterns she found. She burst into Daewon's office holding her datapad like a weapon. They're real. The elders are real, and we're in serious trouble. Daewon looked up from his own stack of reports. Show me. Hana projected her findings into the air between them. Ancient texts from dozens of species appeared, highlighted in glowing text. Every 50,000 years, almost exactly, there are references to the purge or the correction or the judgment. Civilizations mention massive losses. Some species just disappear from records entirely. That could be anything. Wars, plagues, all at the same time, across the whole galaxy. Every 50,000 years like clockwork? Hana shook her head. No, something comes. Something judges whether civilizations have grown wisely. And if they haven't... She didn't finish the sentence. A chime interrupted them. Jinwoo's voice came through the communicator. You both need to see this. Council emergency session, now. They rushed to the council chamber. It was more crowded than Daewon had ever seen it. Species that usually didn't attend were present. The air felt electric with tension. Velthar stood at the center, and for the first time since Daewon had known him, the massive reptilian looked scared. The approaching vessels are confirmed, Velthar announced. His voice didn't boom with confidence anymore. It shook. They number in the thousands. Each one is the size of a small moon. They've responded to our communication attempts with silence. Murmurs of fear rippled through the chamber. An elderly species representative, something that looked like living mist, spoke in a whisper that somehow filled the room. The ancient texts. This matches the purge. Superstition, another council member shouted. We should prepare our fleets for defense. Defense against what? Ixara clicked her mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. These vessels are larger than our biggest stations. If they're hostile, our weapons are toys. Velthar's eyes found Daewon in the crowd. For once, they didn't hold condescension. They held desperation. Ambassador Daewon. Does Earth have any ancient weapons? Any old technology you haven't shared? The question was so absurd that Daewon almost laughed. Earth, which the council thought was primitive, being asked for super weapons. No, Elder. Humanity barely mastered space travel. We have nothing that could help. But Velthar wasn't giving up. Your species is young. Perhaps you haven't been judged yet. Perhaps you could make contact. You want us to talk to them because we're children? Hana's voice cut through the chamber. She'd stepped forward without asking permission. Now we're useful? Several council members looked offended, but Velthar just slumped. Please, if there's anything your people know. There might be, Hana said, and pulled up her research for the whole council to see. The ancient texts floated in the air as holograms. Every species here has legends about beings called the Elders. They come every 50,000 years to judge the galaxy, and humanity arrived just before this cycle. Coincidence, someone muttered. Maybe, Hana continued, but the texts say something else. They mention inheritors who will recognize the Elders. Some translations call them the young old ones or children of the first. What if that's us? The chamber erupted in argument. Some species called it wishful thinking. Others said humanity was grasping at importance. But Daewon noticed that no one was dismissing them anymore. Fear had made humans worth listening to. Jinwoo joined them on the floor. I've been coordinating with other species' military advisors. Everyone's preparing fleets, but no one thinks we can fight these things. The math doesn't work. We shouldn't fight them, Daewon said loudly. The chamber quieted. If these are the Elders from the legends, attacking might be the worst thing we could do. What if this is the test? What if they're checking to see if we've become violent or wise? Wise? Velthar looked at him. What's wise about letting potential invaders approach without defense? What's wise about attacking something you don't understand? Daewon countered. You called us children. Maybe children should respond. Maybe that's what they want to see. Innocence instead of aggression. Bora had been listening from the human delegation area. Now she spoke up. In human culture, when elders return home, the children greet them first. It's a sign of respect. Ixar's mandibles stopped clicking. Your species does have protocols for this? For family reunions, yes, Bora said carefully. I don't know if that applies here, but if these beings call themselves elders, maybe they think of this galaxy as family. The council debated for hours. Some species wanted to hide their populations, others wanted to launch preemptive strikes. A few even suggested trying to flee the galaxy entirely, though everyone knew that was impossible with current technology. Finally, Velthar made a decision. We will prepare defenses but not attack unless attacked first. And he looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Day One, we would like humanity to prepare a greeting message. As you said, perhaps innocence is what's needed. It wasn't quite an apology for how they'd been treated, but it was close. Over the next week, the approaching fleet became visible to normal telescopes. The vessels were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked organic, like they'd been grown instead of built. Each one glowed with soft light, and they moved in perfect formation. Hana spent every spare moment studying the texts. She found one passage that made her blood run cold. The elders will judge by the faces of their children. Those who harmed the innocent will face correction. Those who nurtured wisdom will be blessed. What does it mean by faces of their children? Daewon asked when she showed him. I don't know, but every translation emphasizes it. The elders care about their children's faces. Jinwoo had his own concerns. Our ships are ready, but I'm telling you, if those things decide to attack, we last maybe 5 minutes. All of us combined. The elder fleet stopped at the edge of council space. They just stopped, hovering there like they were waiting for something. Then a single small vessel detached from the main fleet. Small was relative, it was still the size of a city, but compared to the moon-sized ships, it was tiny. The vessel approached the Unity station slowly, deliberately. Every council member watched on screens and monitors. Every species in the galaxy was probably watching the same broadcast. The vessel stopped just outside weapons range. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then it sent a message. The transmission was pure sound, translated instantly by every computer system in council space. The voice that spoke was neither male nor female, young nor old. It simply was. Send your inheritors. We would see their faces. The council chamber exploded in panic and confusion. Inheritors? What does that mean? Is it a threat? Who do they want? But Hana was staring at the screen, her face white. The texts. They called humans the inheritors. They're asking for us. Velthar turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Daewon. I think they want you to go. Daewon felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. Go meet beings that might be gods or monsters or something beyond understanding. He looked at his small team. Hana, brilliant and curious. Bora, compassionate and wise. Jinwoo, strong and protective. Subin, their linguist, who'd been quiet but listening to everything. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already, Subin said softly. The message is specific. They want to see faces. That's personal, not violent. I'll go, Daewon decided. But I want volunteers, not orders. This might be dangerous, Hana stepped forward immediately. I've been studying them for weeks. I need to see if I'm right. Bora joined her. If this is about family, you need someone who understands that. Subin nodded. You'll need a linguist. Not everything translates perfectly. Jinwoo hesitated, then stepped forward too. Someone needs to watch your backs. Daewon looked at them, these brave humans who'd been dismissed and patronized but never gave up. Then we go together. If these are the elders, let them see what humanity really is. The human transport ship felt very small as it approached the elder vessel. Daewon sat in the pilot seat with Jinwoo beside him. Hana, Bora, and Subin were strapped into seats behind them. Everyone was quiet, lost in their own thoughts. Ship approaching. The computer announced in a calm voice that seemed wrong for the situation. Matching velocity with target. The elder vessel filled their view screen. Up close it was even more impossible. The surface looked like polished stone, but it glowed from within. Patterns moved across it like living things. Hana had her scanner out taking readings. This is impossible, she whispered. The material doesn't match anything in council databases. It's giving off energy but no radiation. It's solid but the density is wrong. This shouldn't exist, but it does, Subin said quietly. A section of the elder vessel opened like a flower blooming. Inside was a docking bay bathed in soft golden light. No words came from the elder ship, but the invitation was clear. Jinwoo guided their transport inside. The docking bay was huge, easily large enough to hold 100 ships their size. But it was empty except for them. The moment they landed, the opening behind them closed silently. "Well," Jinwoo said, unstrapping from his seat, "we're committed now." They gathered their equipment, mostly recording devices and scanners, and approached the airlock. Day One's hand hovered over the control panel. "Whatever happens," he said, "we represent all of humanity. Stay calm, stay respectful, and remember that we're here because they asked for us." He opened the airlock. The air that rushed in was perfect. Not alien, not different, perfect for human lungs. The temperature was exactly comfortable. Even the gravity felt right when they stepped out. The docking bay opened into a corridor, wide, tall, with the same glowing walls. But what made everyone stop was the architecture. The proportions were familiar. The height of the ceiling, the width of the passage, even the gentle curve of the walls. It all felt designed for humans. "This is really wrong," Bora said. "Why would an alien ship feel this comfortable?" They walked down the corridor. Their footsteps made no sound. The walls provided light but no visible source. After what felt like forever but was probably only 5 minutes, the corridor opened into an enormous chamber. It was circular, with a domed ceiling that showed stars. Real stars. Not a projection. The floor was smooth and dark like polished obsidian, and in the center of the chamber stood 5 figures. They looked human. Completely, perfectly human. Daewon felt his breath catch. Beside him, Hana made a small sound of shock. The 5 figures stood in a semicircle, wearing simple robes that shimmered with colors that seemed to shift. They had human faces, human bodies, human proportions. If Daewon had passed them on a street on Earth, he wouldn't have looked twice. One of them stepped forward. She was tall, with kind eyes and black hair streaked with silver. Her smile was warm and genuine. "Welcome home, children," she said in perfect Korean, then in perfect English, then in Mandarin, Hindi, Swahili, cycling through every human language in seconds. "I am Elder Sarang. We have waited so long to meet you." Daewon found his voice, though it came out rough. "You're human." "We are what you will become," Sarang replied. "And you are what we once were." The chamber had screens along the walls, or maybe they were windows, it was hard to tell. They activated, showing images. The galaxy, Earth, humans living, building, growing. The view pulled back to show council species, their worlds, their histories. 50,000 years ago, Sarang began. "We were like you. Young, curious, reaching for the stars. We grew, learned, evolved. We became what you see now. Beings with knowledge and power that seems like magic to younger species." Another elder stepped forward, a man with gentle eyes. "We seeded Earth with our genetic code. We made you, literally. You are our children, growing in isolation so that you could develop naturally without interference from species who would shape you in their image." Hana's scanner had fallen from her hand. She was crying. The texts were right. "The inheritors are us. We're your children." "Yes," Sarang said warmly. "Every 50,000 years we return to check on the galaxy, and more importantly to check on our children on Earth, to see if you grew wise or cruel, to see if the galaxy treated you well." "The galaxy didn't know what we were," Daewon said. "They treated us like children." "Which you are," Sarang replied. "But the question is whether they treated you with kindness or cruelty, whether they nurtured growth or crushed potential." Bora spoke up, her voice shaking. "What happens if they failed?" The male elder's expression grew serious. "Then we correct the galaxy. Remove species that cannot coexist with wisdom. Restart their development. This is the purge mentioned in ancient texts. You'd kill entire civilizations?" Jinwoo's hand had instinctively moved toward his weapon. Though he didn't draw it, "We would return them to their beginning." Sarang said gently, "Not death, but rebirth. A chance to grow properly. But it is painful for all involved, and we prefer not to do it." Subin had been quiet, absorbing everything. Now she asked, "Why show yourselves looking like us? Why not your true form?" "This is our true form," Sarang smiled. "We look like you because you look like us. We gave you our shape, our DNA, our basic nature. When humans look at themselves, they see us as we were. When we look at you, we see ourselves young again." The screens changed, showing council broadcasts. The galaxy watching this meeting. Every species seeing the elders' faces, human faces, seeing the truth. They know now, Daewon realized. The whole galaxy sees that we're your children. Yes, and now comes the important part. Sarang's expression became grave. We have seen much of the galaxy's treatment of you. The dismissal, the patronizing attitudes, the refusal to take you seriously. We have watched them pat you on the head and call you cute. The other elders looked angry now. One of them spoke for the first time, a woman with fierce eyes. They treated our children like pets, like amusing toys. But, Sarang raised her hand, we have also seen that they did not harm you. They did not enslave you or attack you. They were condescending, yes. Frustrating, absolutely, but not cruel. She turned to face Daewon directly. So now we ask you, Daewon of Earth, representative of humanity. We will accept your judgment. Does the galaxy deserve another 50,000 years? Or should we correct their course? The weight of the question hit him like a physical blow. The galaxy's fate was in his hands. Every species that had ever dismissed humanity, every alien who'd patted his head and called him young, their lives depended on what he said next. You're asking me to decide? His voice was barely a whisper. We're asking humanity to decide, Sarang corrected. You have 3 days. Speak with your people. Discuss among yourselves. The galaxy will wait for your answer. Behind them, screens showed council chambers in chaos. Velthar on his knees. Ixara's mandibles frozen in shock. Species panicking, pleading, trying to contact the human delegation. 3 days? Elder Sarang repeated. And then you will tell us. Does the galaxy live or begin again? The elders stepped back, fading into the walls like they'd become part of the ship itself. The human delegation stood alone in the chamber, with the weight of the galaxy on their shoulders. Hana broke the silence. What do we do? Daewon looked at his team. Young humanity dismissed for so long, now holding ultimate power over those who dismissed them. We do what humans do, he said slowly. We think, we feel, we talk, and then we make the hardest choice any species has ever faced. The return journey to Unity Station was silent, each of them lost in thought. Through the transport windows, they could see elder vessels, thousands of them waiting patiently, waiting for humanity's judgment. When they docked at Unity, a crowd was waiting. Velthar stood at the front, and for the first time, Daewon saw the massive reptilian bow deeply. Ambassador, Velthar's voice shook. Please, we beg for the chance to speak. All around the docking bay, aliens knelt or performed whatever gesture their species used for submission. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, bowing to humans who'd been here barely 50. Power, Daewon realized, felt terrible when it came like this. 3 days, he told the assembled crowd. We have 3 days to decide, and I promise you this, we will not make this choice lightly. As they walked through the station toward human quarters, aliens pressed in from all sides. Some begged, some wept. Some offered humanity control of the council, resources, anything they could think of. Bora looked ill. How can we judge them? We're not gods, no, Daewon agreed. We're just people. But that might be exactly why the elders asked us. The human quarters on Unity Station had become a fortress, not because of walls or weapons, but because every alien species wanted to talk to them, beg them, convince them to save the galaxy. Daewon had ordered everyone to stay inside for now. They needed time to think without constant interruption. The 5 of them sat around a table, none of them having slept since returning from the elder vessel. We need to make a list, Hana said, pulling up a holographic display. Positives and negatives. Logical approach. You can't logic your way through genocide, Jinwoo said harshly. That's what we're talking about. If we say no, the elders wipe out civilizations. That's mass murder. It's not murder if they're reborn, Subin said quietly. Everyone looked at her. I'm not saying I agree with it. But Elder Sarang said they'd be returned to their beginning. Reset, not destroyed. Is there a difference? Bora asked. If you erase someone's memory, their culture, their history, aren't you killing who they were? Daewon rubbed his tired eyes. Let's start with what we know. The galaxy treated us badly. Not evil, but badly. Does that deserve death? Rebirth, Subin corrected. Does it deserve rebirth? Daewon amended. Hana pulled up examples on her screen. Velthar patting you on the head. Ixara calling our work precious. Being given meaningless committee positions. being ignored in important decisions. 50 years of being treated like we don't matter. It hurt, Bora admitted. It still hurts, but they never tried to harm us. They gave us resources, technology, education. They were annoying, not evil. Jinwoo stood up and paced. On Earth, we have history. Real history. We know what happens when one group sees another as lesser. Slavery, genocide, conquest. The galaxy didn't do any of that to us. They just didn't respect us. Is respect enough reason to let them live? Hana asked. The question hung in the air like poison. A chime at the door interrupted them. Daewon checked the screen. Velthar stood outside, alone. He looked smaller somehow, less imposing than usual. Should I let him in? Daewon asked the others. Might as well hear what he has to say, Jinwoo said. We need all perspectives. Daewon opened the door. Velthar entered slowly, his scales dull with stress. He'd been crying, or whatever his species did that was similar. His eyes were red and swollen. Ambassador. Velthar's voice was nothing like the booming confidence from before. May I speak? Sit. Daewon gestured to a reinforced chair designed for larger species. Velthar sat heavily. I came to apologize. Not to beg for mercy, though I am terrified, but to apologize genuinely for how my species, and I personally, treated yours. We're listening, Daewon said neutrally. I patted your head, Velthar said, and something in his voice broke. Like you were a pet. I dismissed your ideas, your proposals, your worth. I called you precious and little and young, and I meant it as kindness. That makes it worse, Hana said softly. I know, Velthar agreed. If I'd been cruel, you could hate me cleanly. But I genuinely thought I was being nice. I thought I was helping guide a young species. I was so sure of my superiority that I never questioned whether you deserved respect. Bora leaned forward. Why? Why did you think that way? Velthar was quiet for a moment. My species is 800,000 years old. We've seen species rise and fall. We've watched young civilizations make terrible mistakes, destroy themselves with war, pollution, greed. We learned to be cautious with newcomers, to guide them slowly, to control them, Jinwoo said. Perhaps, Velthar admitted, but we thought it was for their own good. And maybe that's worse than cruelty. Cruelty knows it's wrong. Condescension thinks it's right. Silence fell over the room. Outside, they could hear other aliens gathering, waiting, hoping for a chance to plead their case. What would you do? Daewon asked. If you were us? Velthar thought for a long time. I don't know. My species deserves punishment for our arrogance. But millions of individuals who never met you, who never harmed anyone, do they deserve to die for my mistakes? Rebirth. Subin corrected again, but her voice was less certain now. After Velthar left, more visitors came. Ixara arrived with her species' historical records, showing times when they'd helped younger civilizations. A crystal being came to apologize for voting against human proposals. A plant-like species sent a delegation of children, or whatever they called their young, to show humanity what would be lost. Each visitor left the human team more confused and exhausted. On the second day, Bora received a message that changed everything. A young alien, barely more than a child by her species' standards, wanted to speak to her. Bora agreed to meet in a neutral observation room. The alien child looked like a fuzzy ball with big eyes and small arms. She approached Bora carefully, clearly scared. Are you going to kill us? The child asked in a small voice. Bora felt her heart break. We're trying to decide what's right. My parents say your people are angry, that we were mean to you. I'm sorry. I didn't know about you until now. I'm only 40 years old. 40 years old was young for her species, Bora knew. This child hadn't even been alive when humanity joined the council. She'd done nothing wrong. What's your name? Bora asked gently. Pika, the child replied. I wanted to meet a human before whatever happens. You look nice. They talked for an hour. Pika asked questions about Earth, about human children, about what humans like to do for fun. She was curious and sweet and completely innocent. When Bora returned to the team, she was crying. We can't kill children, she said simply. Whatever the adults did, the children are innocent. That night, or what passed for night on the station, the human delegation gathered one final time. Tomorrow they had to give the elders their answer. The galaxy waited in terror. Unity Station had become a place of prayers and desperate hope. Let's vote, Daewon said. Should the galaxy be corrected? No, Bora said immediately. The children. No, Hana said. They were wrong but not evil. No, Subin agreed. Punishment should fit the crime. This doesn't. Jinwoo took longer. Every instinct says they deserve it. They treated us like nothing, but, he sighed. No, we're better than revenge. Day one felt relief and fear at once. Then we're agreed. We tell the elders the galaxy lives. But something needs to change, Hana said firmly. We can't just forgive and forget. The galaxy needs to learn. They're learning right now, Subin pointed out. They're terrified. They're apologizing. They're seeing humans as equals for the first time. Fear isn't the same as respect, Jinwoo said. No, Daewon agreed. But maybe it's a start. The final day arrived. The elders had sent a message requesting the human delegation return to their vessel. The whole galaxy would watch the judgment. Every screen, every monitor, every species holding their breath. As they prepared to leave, Velthar met them at the docking bay. Whatever you decide, thank you for considering it carefully. That's more mercy than we showed you. The flight back to the elder vessel felt shorter this time, or maybe they were just less afraid. They knew what to expect now. The docking bay, the corridors, the great chamber with its star-filled ceiling. Elder Sarang waited with the other elders. Her expression was unreadable. Children of Earth, she said formally, you have had 3 days to consider. The galaxy waits for your judgment. Does it deserve another cycle? Or should we correct its course? Daewon stepped forward. His team stood behind him, supporting him. Supporting humanity. He thought about Velthar's apology, about little Pika's innocent questions, about 50 years of frustration and dismissal, about the weight of millions of lives. He took a breath and began to speak. The galaxy treated us badly, he started. They dismissed us, patronized us, made us feel small and insignificant. Every proposal ignored, every idea called cute instead of clever. 50 years of being treated like children playing at adult business. He saw some elders' expressions harden. But, he continued, they treated us as children because they saw us as children. They didn't know what we were. How could they? We didn't even know. Sarang's expression shifted slightly, curious now. In human culture, Daewon went on, we have a saying, judge people by their worst day, and no one is innocent. The galaxy's worst day was patronizing us. That's their crime. Being annoying, being condescending, being frustratingly superior. He paused, making sure his next words were clear. But our worst days on Earth? We enslaved each other, committed genocide, nearly destroyed our own planet. If you judge the galaxy by the standards of human history, they're saints. Behind him, his team nodded in agreement. So our answer is no. The galaxy doesn't need correction. It needs time. It needs to grow just like we did. It needs the chance to be better, just like we got. Elder Sarang's face transformed. Her smile started small, then grew until it radiated pure joy. The other elders relaxed visibly, some actually laughing with relief. Perfect, Sarang said softly. Absolutely perfect. Daewon felt confused. I don't understand. You're happy we said no? We're happy you understood the test, Sarang explained. We don't judge the galaxy, Daewon. We judge you. We judge humanity. The question wasn't whether they deserved mercy. It was whether you would give it. The words hit like a wave. Behind him, Hana gasped as understanding clicked into place. The whole thing was a test? Jinwoo sounded angry. You threatened the entire galaxy just to test us? We gave you ultimate power over beings who dismissed you, another elder said, the man with gentle eyes. We watched to see what you would do with it. Would you choose vengeance or compassion? Would you use power to harm or to heal? You had every reason to be angry, the fierce-eyed female elder added. You were treated poorly, disrespected, ignored. Many species would have embraced the chance for revenge. Some of our past children did. Sarang stepped closer to Daewon. But you chose mercy. Even after everything, you saw the galaxy's people as worth saving. You saw children like Pika and knew they deserved a future. That is wisdom, Daewon. That is what we hoped to see. What if we'd chosen differently? Bora asked quietly. Then we would have known you weren't ready, Sarang said simply. We would have waited another cycle, given you more time to grow. The galaxy would have been fine. There was never any real danger of correction. But you needed to believe it was real to make a true choice. Hana was shaking her head in disbelief. 50,000 years ago, you put us on Earth. You watched us grow. All of this was to see if we'd pass one test. Many tests, actually. Sarang smiled. Every day you chose patience over anger was a test. Every time you continued trying despite being dismissed was a test. The final question was just the most obvious one. And because we passed? Day One asked. Because you passed, you inherit what we've built. You become the galaxy's next guardians. The chamber transformed. The walls shifted, revealing archives of knowledge, technology, history, millions of years of accumulated wisdom suddenly accessible. This is your inheritance. Sarang gestured to the vast collection. Everything we learned, everything we built, it's yours now, to use and protect and pass down to your own children someday. We're supposed to be guardians. Jinwoo looked overwhelmed. We're barely 50 years into space travel. You're young in technology but old in wisdom, Sarang corrected. You understand something many ancient species forget. Power without compassion is just cruelty with better weapons. Another elder spoke, one who'd been silent until now. We'll remain available for guidance, but we step back now. For the next 50,000 years, humanity leads. You set the tone. You make the decisions. The galaxy won't accept that, Hana said. They're millions of years older than us. They will accept it, Sarang said confidently, because they just watched you save them. They know now that age doesn't equal wisdom, and they know that when you had power over them, you chose mercy. The screens in the chamber activated, showing council space, Unity Station, every species watching the broadcast. Sarang's voice went out to all of them. People of the galaxy, she announced. The test is complete. Humanity has proven themselves worthy of inheritance. They chose compassion over vengeance, wisdom over anger. They saved you when they could have condemned you. Remember this day. Remember that the youngest among you became your greatest when it mattered most. The transmission ended. Through the windows of the elder vessel, they could see the massive fleet beginning to move. Not threatening, but departing. Returning to wherever they came from. You're leaving? Daewon asked. Our children are grown, Sarang said warmly. We're proud of you. But now you must walk your own path. We'll sleep until your children's children need testing. 50,000 years from now, return to Earth and see if they learned wisdom from you. She approached Daewon and placed her hands on his shoulders. Raise them well, little one. You were raised well, despite everything. Now it's your turn to guide others. I don't feel ready, Daewon admitted. No parent ever does, Sarang laughed. But you'll figure it out. That's what humans do. One by one, the elders embraced each member of the human delegation, not as gods to mortals, but as family saying goodbye. Then they faded, becoming light, becoming part of their vessel. Within minutes, the elder fleet was gone, vanishing into the space between galaxies. The human delegation stood alone in the empty chamber. Then slowly, the chamber itself began to fade. They found themselves back on their transport ship, docked at Unity Station. It was like waking from a dream, except for the massive data archives now accessible through their ship's computer. When they exited the ship, the docking bay was crowded with every council species. But this time no one knelt. No one begged. They stood as equals, waiting. Belthar approached first. He didn't bow this time. He extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Ambassador Daewon. How do we begin again? Daewon took the offered hand. By starting over. Actually over. No more head pats. No more treating us like children. No more acting like we know everything. Belthar agreed. We have much to learn from you. Ixara clicked her mandibles, but it was a friendly sound now. I will never call your work precious again. Effective, innovative, necessary, but never precious. Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed. Not through force or fear, but through genuine change. The council restructured with human input. Daewon became council speaker, voted unanimously. No one called it a participation trophy. Hana led a massive project to integrate elder technology responsibly. She worked with scientists from dozens of species, teaching them what humanity had learned about wisdom and restraint. The ancient species brought experience. Humanity brought perspective. Together they advanced faster than either could alone. Jinwoo took charge of unified defense forces. Not human forces commanding aliens, but integrated units where everyone contributed based on ability. Not age of civilization. Young species brought fresh tactics. Old species brought deep knowledge. They learned from each other. Bo-Ra established the first real cultural exchange program. Not aliens teaching humans how to be civilized, but genuine sharing. She made sure programs included all ages. Little Pika became her assistant, helping other young aliens learn about human culture. The friendship between them showed the galaxy what equality actually looked like. Subin worked on improving galactic communication. She discovered that many conflicts came from poor translation and misunderstanding. By fixing how species talk to each other, she prevented dozens of potential disputes. Her work quietly saved more lives than any weapon. The changes weren't always smooth. Some species struggled with the new dynamic. Some resented taking guidance from young humanity. But every time tension rose, someone would remember the day humans chose mercy. The day children became guardians not through conquest but through compassion. 1 year after the elders left, Day-Wan stood in the rebuilt council chamber. It looked different now. Seats were arranged in a circle instead of a hierarchy. Every species had equal voice. The old ways were gone, replaced by something better. Velthar approached him with a familiar glint in his eye. "Ambassador, I've been thinking about that trade route you proposed. The one through Sector 7. Day-Wan smiled. "The one you called a learning experience?" "That I dismissed like a fool," Velthar corrected. "We implemented it 6 months ago. Travel time reduced by 35%. Fuel cost down 40%. You were right, and we were too arrogant to listen." "We all make mistakes," Day-Wan said diplomatically. "Yes, but now we fix them instead of repeating them." Velthar looked around the chamber. "This is better. Frightening still, having humans as guardians, but better." "We're not gods," Day-Wan reminded him. "Just people with a bit more practice at compassion." A young human entered the chamber. Taemin, barely 10 years old, on a school tour. He stared wide-eyed at all the different species working together. Pika spotted him and bounced over excitedly, introducing him to her friends from other worlds. The children played together, unbothered by differences in shape or size or age of civilization. Hana joined Day-Wan, watching the children. "That's our real success. Not the technology or the power. That," she pointed at the playing children, "a generation growing up seeing each other as equals." "What do you think the elders would say if they saw this?" Day-Wan wondered. "I think they'd say we're doing exactly what they hoped," Hana replied. "Learning, growing, making mistakes but fixing them. Being human." That evening, Day-Wan returned to the human quarters. The rooms were bigger now, befitting humanity's new role, but they'd kept them modest. No thrones or palaces, just comfortable spaces for people doing important work. He pulled up a communication link to Earth. His daughter appeared on screen, calling from home. "Dad, how's it going up there?" "Complicated," he admitted. "But good. How's school?" "We're learning about the elders in history class. My teacher says you saved the galaxy. I didn't save it. We just chose not to hurt it." "That's different." His daughter thought about that. "Is that what being a guardian means? Not hurting people when you could?"